got my first Birch bike. I've actually been looking at this company for the past like year and a half, and I finally got my own. This is the Grolar, and they basically took grizzly bear and polar bear and mixed those names together, and that's how we came up with the name of this bike. Now this is a fantastic bike. On their website, they brand it as like a hunting e-bike to go off-roading, go uphill, stuff like that. And you can easily do that because it has two motors. Yes, I said that. 750 watts each with a peak output power of 1500 watts, giving us 160 Newton meters of torque. This is definitely a torquey e-bike. I kind of, experienced it a little bit off camera, and I was very impressed. So without further ado, let's go over some of the components on this thing so we can hurry up and take it out for a spin to see if you guys might want to buy this and I can save you guys some money, because this bike's coming in at $27.99, but with discount codes, it'll be a little cheaper than that. Starting off on the rear of the bike, we have this nice rear rack with a brake light at the very end of it with turn signals as well, and they do this cool little animation that I've never seen before. Our shifter is a Shimano Q's M4000 system. Now the gearing on this bike isn't geared to go 30 miles an hour when pedaling. It's actually considered to be better for off-roading, so you have that power in the low speeds. So that's why this chainring is pretty small, but we do get a torque sensor attached to this bike. So depending on how hard you pedal is how fast the bike will go, depending also on the mode that you're in. So underneath the bike is where you guys have your battery that's integrated into the bottom tube, so it's real nice and hidden and not bolted on top of the frame or something like that. It is 25 amp hours, 1200 watt hours. Here are the numbers on the battery if you guys want to screenshot that. This battery does weigh about 14 pounds just by itself. Moving on to the front, you can see our inverted fork. This is 180 millimeters of travel. It's a nice, huge, long fork. It is an air adjustment fork too. So on the left-hand side, you can add air to it or take air out depending on how you ride. On the right-hand side, you have a compression knob to adjust that as well. The front rack that's on this bike can be added separately. It comes in the box if you want to add it or not add it. Depends on if you're going to use it or not. Looks really nice, makes the bike look even bigger than it is. It's nice if you're actually going to use it to store stuff on the front. Now when you start making your way down to the huge fat tires, are 26 inch by 4 inches wide. You can see our true 4-inch wide rim. I mean, these are absolutely wide. You could probably even fit a bigger tire on here. Just keep in mind the distance between the forks and the tires. There's not much, maybe like a finger gap in between there. So you can't go super big, but if you did put a bigger tire on, it's definitely gonna make this bike look bigger than it already is. You can see our 750 watt motor in the front over here, and you're gonna notice that there is no fender on this bike. So that's unfortunate. So you might get splashed with a little bit of dirt depending when you go off roading or water, whatever. So just keep in mind, there is nothing in the front, but you do get a rear fender in the back. So that's nice. Moving on to the other side of the bike, you can see our 180 millimeter rotors with our E3520 Tektro hydraulic brake calipers. In the middle of the bike, you have your rubber plug. You got to remove that to charge the battery. If you don't want to charge this battery on the bike, you can always get the key, remove the battery, go charge it inside your house if you like. But it's nice that this thing should be waterproof, so there should be no water that gets into that plug with that little cover they have. And then right behind that, you have your torque sensor. So again, this is not a cadence sensor e-bike. You actually have to pedal this bike to get everything moving. But if you don't want to pedal, you can always just use the throttle up to max speed. Now under this bike, you might have noticed this already, but it doesn't use your standard traditional kickstand. It uses a center stand, which makes sense. It's a very heavy bike. It does take a little bit getting used to pushing it back and forward, but I actually like it. It does lift the bike up a little bit off the ground, so it does make it a little bit taller. And I think it's going to be more stable depending on where you set the bike at. So I think that's a nice upgrade compared to your standard traditional kickstand. Now right behind that torque sensor and right above that kickstand we just talked about, there is a plug back here, and you might be wondering what that's for, and that is to hook up an extra battery. So just in case you want to get more juice out of this bike and more range, it is capable of 85 miles on pedal assist and 45 miles on throttle only. But if you want more than that, you can always add an extra battery using that plug. Now moving on to the top of the bike where we have the seat, you can see that the seat does have a little bit of clearance right there. it does not go any far down than that because it is a suspension seat post, which is a very nice touch. You can also see the springs underneath the seat as well. You can also see how fat the seat is as well too. It's a very nice, comfortable seat. I had no issues when testing the bike out, just making sure everything worked. But again, this is gonna be a bike for taller riders, not shorter riders, and I'm gonna show you guys that right now. So just so you guys know, I am 5'9", and trying to get on this bike is a little challenging. Now it is nice that it has a step-through design, and again, you gotta get used to this kickstand, so you do move the bike forward to have that pop underneath. Now I do really like that kickstand, going back to it really quick, but I feel like if you're gonna take this thing off-roading, it's pretty low to the ground, and it might get snagged on some branches, trees, rocks, whatever, depending on how you're riding. So just keep in mind of the kickstand down there. But to get on the bike, the easiest way is you put your foot over this way because it's a step-through design, and then you slide back on the seat. And once you kind of get the seat kind of compressed, because it is a suspension seat post, it does go down a little tiny bit. But keep in mind, look, my feet are all the way down, and I somehow stepped on something that's attached to my shoe that shouldn't be over here. So yeah, look, check this out. I am on my tippy toe. So this is a very tall bike, even for 5'9" people. I would say if you are 5'7" and up, you could probably definitely fit on this bike. You could also be up to 400 pounds as well as a payload. And this bike does weigh about 109 pounds. It feels heavier than that though, but they say on their website 190 pounds with the battery, but I mean, it is very awkward to pick up, and I'll say that. But man, so you definitely gotta be careful when putting this on like bike racks or stored it in your truck or something like that. It's definitely gonna be very heavy. You might want 2 people for something like this. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is turn off the lights so we can see these lights in my garage when it's dark, and they should automatically come on because it should detect when it gets dark or not. So without further ado, let me go turn the garage light off and let's see what happens. Now it is completely dark in here. There we go. All right, so I didn't do anything. It just turned on automatically. The headlight looks great. It is a little bit raised because we are on that kickstand, but that looks like a nice headlight. Now the brake light, you can see our turn signal right there flashing. If you guys can get a better look at that, I'll move the bike just a little bit because this bike rack kind of covers it a little bit on the side. That is our brake light. It gets a little tiny bit brighter when you hit the brakes. It's nice that it does that. It's not super bright compared to the headlight. Turn signals look pretty good though. They're really kind of small, so I mean, I don't know how many people are gonna be paying attention to that, but the fact that it has it is nice. It's not the best that I have seen, but I'll take it. Last but not least, this is the cockpit area if you were to sit on the bike, and this is what you're gonna be looking at if you were just riding 24/7. To turn the bike on, there are a few buttons on the side. So this one is gonna be to turn the display on. Takes a little bit to come on. This bottom button is going to take you into the settings, so you just hold that. One problem, and I'll mention this later, is trying to get into the dual motor, which we are right now. You do have to go to the settings every single time. There's not a dedicated button on these handlebars that allows you to go to front motor, rear motor, or both at the same time. You have to actually go into the settings every time. It's a little bit of a pain. I'll show you guys that later. But the one thing I would replace probably right off the bat are these grips. They're not that great. I get some locking grips. Here's your turn signal button right here. Here's your horn. And here is your pedal assist. So if you want to go up and down, you just hit this. You can go in the 0 if you just want to pedal this bike like a normal bike. This button right here is the walk mode. So if you hold that down, it will walk with you like 3 to 4 miles per hour. You can see we do have a BMX style handlebar setup. I actually like that. Here is your 9-speed. So use your thumb right here and your index finger on the other side. It's a half twist throttle as well. And then looking at the cable management up front, if you guys didn't see this earlier, it's actually very nice. It's very nice and clean. I don't see a lot of cables going all over the place. Maybe they could have sleeved a little bit, but if you just start putting some zip ties on some of this stuff, you can really clean that up. All right, so I think that's everything that needs to be covered. Let's just hurry up and get out there because it's getting super late and I don't want it to be dark when we shoot this video review. Well, I'm gonna try to take it off road a little tiny bit because that's what this bike is really made for. I noticed that the tires aren't super knobby, so they're made to be on the street and on the dirt. So I would have liked to seen if people are gonna use this and it's labeled as an off-road hunting e-bike, I would like to see a little bit like bigger tire tread on there, but it's definitely gonna be a good street bike as well. It's not gonna be too bumpy or loud. So anyways, without further ado, we gotta go, man. We gotta hurry up. What are we doing out in the garage? All right, guys, we are on the action cam now, so we're gonna see how this thing performs, POV style. Give you guys a good idea of how this feels to actually ride it behind the camera. And it is a fantastic, powerful bike.
Now, something I just noticed right off the back, even though I did take it out the other day, is that I have it in mode number 1, and I'm hitting 31 miles an hour right now, which I thought you would only hit that in mode number 5, but apparently you can hit it in mode number 1. So all the modes must be for pedaling. So if I slow down right now, let's go down to a low speed. Let's see how this torque sensor works. Oh, dang. All right, there we go. I had a little jolt, but now that I'm actually pedaling, there we go. I'm still connected, and now I'm not. Okay, so about 23 to 24 miles an hour is when I wasn't connected to this bike. And you can see I'm losing speed, and I'm just pedaling like a normal person right now. So definitely, if you want to go fast, you might as well just use the throttle. And I would just leave it in probably, let's see if you can do it in 0. Okay, so if you do put it in 0, you do lose your throttle. So I might just keep it in 1 if you don't want the pedals to accidentally like take off like a bat out of hell. That's a nice safety thing, because if you put this in 5, I bet you those pedals will take off more quickly when they rotate, depending on the speed and where you're at. Man, this bike is almost staying up with this Mercedes right here. Ah, dang, this thing is quick. If I didn't mention it already, it's a 48 volt system. We have 2 controllers. They're both 25 amps each, giving this bike 50 amps of power out of those controllers. And it's not bad. I do feel like the battery is a little tiny bit small for this, especially the power we're getting. It's only 25 amp hours. Now, it's better than a 20 amp hour battery that most bikes come with. But I would like to see an over 30 just because you have all this power. But again, doesn't mean you need to be in dual motor all the time. A lot of people are probably going to be riding in single motor, and then when they get on trails and they got to go up hills or, you know, go through some stuff, that's probably when, thanks buddy, when you would probably put it in dual motor, which I got to show you guys how that works, because it's a little bit of a process to get the dual motors and single motor working. All right, so using that button I told you guys about, hold it down, you'll get into the display settings. You want to go down to the advanced settings, click it again, then go to the bottom of it in drive mode, and this is front and rear, and then you could go to auto, which I guess auto would be kind of cool. I wonder if it changes, you know, depending on how it feels you're riding. Then you can just go to rear if you want. So if we just put it in rear, you go back, go exit, and then now we're in rear motor only. So that's a huge difference with just using that rear motor instead of using both. But this is definitely going to give you more range this way. But it does kind of suck. You got to go through all the settings just to change that, because there might be times where I just want to, you know, do it on the fly and switch it, but you can't. So I don't know, me personally, I guess I would just leave it in dual motor at all times. But you know, if you're someone that likes to change it here and there depending on your riding, if you're going from street to dirt to hills, whatever, and you want to save as much battery as possible, it's kind of annoying. You got to pull over like this, go into the settings, advanced settings, find it, drive mode. Oh, I just passed it, and then we're gonna put it in front and rear again, and then get out of this. Now I gotta say, this bike does have really good traction control. That's kind of how it feels, because most of the times when you have a bike that has a front motor on it, it just takes off like a bat out of hell, and it feels like wishy-washy, like you're gonna go one direction, especially if you're on dirt and stuff. Now I'm not saying it doesn't pill out, because I can get it to pill out right now. But it does a very good job of power managing the front and the back. I don't know exactly how they have their tune set up, but it does feel very well balanced. So if you just sit on it like regularly, like you balance yourself and you don't lift up the front, it will not spin. The only way it spun is because I kind of held myself back with my feet. But this is a fantastic, powerful bike. Do I wish it went faster? Yeah, but is this fast enough? Yeah, it really is. But man, I mean, it just gets up to 31 miles an hour in no time. It's absolutely insane. It's so fast, I'm gonna get this green light, and it was green a long time ago when I was talking way back there. Can't go wrong with this thing. And it looks massive. Everybody looks at you because I am so far off of the ground. The pedals are so far away from the ground as well. I mean, I feel like I'm a huge like SUV. Like, look at how tall I am. I'm as tall as this car. My head is above that SUV. It's absolutely crazy. I'm probably just as tall as that person that's sitting in that van right now. This is a huge bike. Absolutely massive. It's the biggest bike I have ever reviewed on this channel, and it takes up a lot of room, I gotta say that. So if room is a concern, then you might want to look for another bike. But so far, this is like, it's performing for the price that you're gonna pay for this bike. Especially with my discount code, you're probably gonna get it for around $2,500 or somewhere around there. You just have to go to the website and plug in the code and then see what you'll get. But yeah, I mean, shoot, we jamming, especially if you want a nice off-road bike. All right, so we're gonna pull up to our designated speed test right here. Now, most of the bikes will get about 27 on average in this stretch of road before I have to brake. If it's over that, it's on the faster side of e-bikes, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I think this thing is going to be maxed out at 31 miles an hour before we even reach this stretch of road. And there's a lot of people coming, so let's do this quick. 1, 2, 3. A little bit of slide from that front tire because I was slightly leaned back. But this thing is jamming. Look, we're already going 30. Yeah, we jamming. I like how no one likes to get out of the way. I feel like a lot of people should get out of my way because this is a big bike that'll take people out. This will definitely run over people. Like, if you were to get hit by a car on this thing, I think you would put some damage in that car as well. Such a massive bike. Man, when I come up here and I have to hit the button, dang, I'm on my tippy toe. So I think the best thing for this bike is to lean to one side and you'll be good. But man, I've never had to tippy toe on a bike before. Now, if you want this bike to be a little bit lower, just get rid of the suspension seat post and put a standard traditional seat post on there, and you'll be perfectly fine. You'll actually probably drop it from 35 inches, which is the seating height right now, probably down to about 33 inches. You probably save about 2 inches, just in case you're a little bit shorter than me. Because again, it's a tall bike to sit on. And if you do put the seat a little bit lower, it's gonna be lower than the rack in the back. So just keep in mind, if you do put stuff on the back, it might get in the way if you change out the suspension seat post and go to something lower. Oh, the brakes. Loving the brakes, man. I was a little hesitant on the brakes because they're not 203 millimeter rotors. I was surprised they went with 180 compared to 203 because it's a heavy bike. It's huge. I thought 203 would have been necessary for this bike, but it's actually performing very well. And that's how you put the bike up. You got to kind of hold the kickstand and then you push the bike back and forward to get it on and off. This is how the bike looks out in the sun. I know we did the intro to this video, so you guys probably saw the B-roll footage, but still, it's a fantastic bike, honestly. I really like this. It's in the sun, it almost looks like it has green tint to it, and the gray, and then the white. Oh man, that is dope, man. I really, really like it. I didn't even know it had like a green tint to it. But there's also a green model, and there's also a black and red model, just in case you don't like this one. But I think this one looks sick. It's just like a graffiti style type of design. I really like it. I think they knocked it out of the park. So to put this bike back, just hold it. This flips underneath. Again, like I said, see how close? This is actually way closer than the pedals to the ground. So just keep in mind that you might hit stuff. And let me close this so we don't get dirt in here. That would not be fun. So let me sit back on this tall ass bike and let's see how it is to come up this hill. I know it's gonna do very well. We'll probably even do this other hill that's a little bit taller. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, and dual motor. Oh! Woo! There we go. That's where we have traction problems and lose dirt, but man, was it just like climbing. All right, so let's try this other hill, which is a lot more steeper. I'm gonna have to lean forward on the bike so you guys might not see the display as well, just because I don't want this thing to pill out away from me. So here we go. Here we go. Oh yeah. Oh man, I had to have my feet off the pedals though to kind of balance the bike because I knew it was gonna be kind of wishy-washy. Look at all that dirt we just picked up. Oh man, this bike is awesome. We'll do this test one more time with pedaling and then we'll get onto the dirt path. All right, so here we go. I'm in gear 3 and let's see how it does without throttle. All right, I should have went a little lower, but it's all good. There we go, I'm not using the throttle. Oh yeah, that was awesome. Very easy to do. Now you have so many gears you can go through, so many modes you can go through. So if you really want to perfect that, you definitely can. But this thing I think will climb anything. I think they say about 40% incline is what this thing will do. And I believe it, I 100% believe it. So this is mode number 1, pedaling with that torque sensor, off-roading. Feels nice and gradual. We're getting about 15 miles an hour. I'm connected to the bike. I'm not trying to over-exaggerate myself with pedaling. It feels nice, no complaints. The only thing I am a little worried about is that these are puncture-resistant tires, but I feel like they're still not a very thick, beefy tire. So a little worried about these getting a flat on them. And again, the knobbies aren't like very huge for off-road. I mean, it has them, but these things will definitely not grip. You could tell when we were coming up that hill, it was just sliding all over the place. That normally happens on a front-wheel drive e-bike. But it's just, the thing is like, if it had more grip to the tires, it wouldn't have done it as much. But anyways, woo! Let's see how it is though. Off-road, this is what this bike is made for. No rear suspension, but that suspension seat post is gonna make up for that. And yeah, not bad at all, guys. Not bad at all. Now again, I would change out these grips, or at least put some gloves on, because these grips are starting to hurt my hands. I feel like I'm gonna get some blisters using these. But yeah, not a bad bike to go off-road with. I swear, man, when you stand on this bike, it feels like I'm on the Titanic, like in the front of it, you know what I mean? Just, oh, you are so high up on the ground with this bike. Oh, it's great if you like that or not. Oh man, I feel like I'm a bully on the road. This is like a Harley compared to like an electric bike, you know what I mean? It is huge. Another thing we're doing on this trip that you guys don't see is I don't have my phone up here. And the reason why my phone's not here is because they have these extra added supports right here, and I can't put my phone attached to here. I could put it right here, but it would have blocked the screen. You guys wouldn't have been able to see. So I am calculating my range so we can see what type of range we're gonna get on this bike, because I'm technically taking a detour and we're taking a longer route, just kind of roaming around. So really curious to see what the battery's gonna be at. Right now, it says we're still at 100%, which doesn't make any sense to me. Here we go, we found a nice off-road spot. I don't know what to expect out here, so hopefully don't hit like a big old pothole or a ditch. Or no mud, I don't want no mud. But oh yeah, this thing is, dude, we're like hauling ass. Oh, that's sand. Woo! All right. Oh yeah, this thing is a monster out here. Woo! Whoa! Whoa! Oh, whoa, whoa! Now it is a little rough in the back. Woo! Oh man, we are so flying. I am doing the max speed this bike will do out here. I mean, this thing is non-stop just going. Holy crap. I can't believe like how this bike feels right now. This bike is just like, I will go over anything. Throw it at me, just hold on for the ride. Woo! Now it's not like waterbed soft compared to like some other e-bikes I've had where it has like some crazy dirt bike suspension or something like a Sur-Ron or something like that, but this is a true e-bike at the end of the day, and a big one at that fact. Not as pricey either compared to those Sur-Rons and Talarias and everything like that, but wow! You definitely have the storage too with the racks and everything like that. I am so impressed. Oh my God, that is fun as hell. That is where this bike shines, baby. That is where this bike shines. Wow, yeah, let's get it. The Grolar e-bike from Birch, baby. Wow, that was fantastic. Now let's go continue onto our review, because I kind of got sidetracked a little bit. All right, so a little detour. Now we're back to our video review spot. Continuing on, coming back to this dirt trail where we're gonna start doing the brake test and the turning test. And I gotta say, my battery has finally dropped. I was expecting to drop a long time ago. Whoa, with being 25 amp hours. Right now it says we are at 91% battery. Woo! Oh, crap. All right, so the next thing we like to do is I like to see how this thing handles if I took my hands off of it at high speeds. Yeah, very stable. No issues with that whatsoever. Feels like it's pulling me a little bit more to the right, but That could just be me. Yeah, so that's not bad. Turning test, it's a heavy bike. Definitely a heavy bike to turn, especially those wider rims, 4 inches wide. Definitely takes a little bit to turn this bike. Now let's see what the turning radius is on this bike. So that's as far as they go. So you can't turn very far on this bike. It locks out pretty close. You do have these rubber stoppers right here, so you're not gonna damage your frame or nothing like that. So if I had to make a U-turn on this bike, it's gonna take up this whole slab of cement for people walking back and forth. So here we go, watch. Making a U-turn, yeah, it takes up this whole thing. So not the best bike for, you know, making U-turns and whatnot. It's probably not the best bike to actually pick up and move around too, because some bikes, I'll just pick up the rear, you know, pick up the bike by the rear rack and then move it. And this is a heavy bike to do so. Woo! Dang, this bike hauls ass. So we do actually have to go slower because our brake tests are always at 28 miles an hour. So I'm gonna have to throttle it to get there. Slow down, bike, slow down. Oh, go faster than that. Oh my God, I'm trying to hold 28 miles an hour. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, all right, so I did my best. I was probably like 27 or 28. I forgot it doesn't have a standard kickstand, so woo, put my foot there, set it up right there. Let's see how this thing stops. All right, so it stopped right behind the line. If we stop at this line or behind, it's more the better stopping e-bikes. And I stopped right where that little cement thing was onto the left-hand side. So definitely a good bike for stopping, no issues. It didn't even lock up. So that's nice because most of these bikes will lock up on the brakes and this one didn't at all. I just got a bike in the other day, not gonna name the name, but as soon as you barely touch the brakes, it just locks up the rear tire. I mean, it's good, but you're really gonna burn your tires out that way. And this one didn't do it, and it still stopped behind the line, so good job on that. Now we gotta push the bike forward, get it off that kickstand, and continue going. I gotta say, I feel like I've broken in that suspension seat post a lot more. I feel like it's gotten a lot softer, because when I first got it, it was very like kind of stuck and stiff, like it needed like lubrication or something. Now it feels phenomenal, like it feels great. I think it was when we did the off-roading stuff where I was going up and down the seat, and I really feel like it made the bike feel like more comfortable, like just riding on a regular street. Woo, look at this, we're going around this thing quick, boy. Heck yeah, 30 miles an hour coming up this thing. Oh man, that's quick. This is a quick bike. It is not slowing down. It is like pushing through. I didn't feel like any hesitation to the motors bogging down or nothing. Oh man, that's crazy. Now I want to go back to the off-roading stuff because it's really bumpy right here. And something I want to mention is that since this is an air fork, you can actually change how much air you have going into the front. So you can actually get more comfortable riding out of this thing. All right, let's see how fast this thing goes downhill, if it's gonna go any faster, and no, it does not. It cut all my power. I was hoping to hit like 35 on this thing coming downhill, but it just won't do it, unfortunately. All right, so that's your cap. If you do go in the settings, you're gonna see the maximum speed that you could turn this thing up to is 31 miles an hour, and you can't go any higher than that. And that's exactly what this bike is showing. I bet you anything, if you were able to change that speed to something higher, it would go even faster because it feels like it does not want to stop. This bike is hands down just wanting to go, go, go. Next thing we got to test out is a throttle response. Honestly, it's felt fantastic so far, especially with these two motors. It is like spot on and it just takes off like a rocket ship. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you see that? Watch the speed and watch when I hit the throttle. 1, 2, 3. That is instant. Now let's try out the pedals and see how fast those react. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so I noticed that earlier. It gives like a jolt real quick and then it goes back down. I don't know what that's about, but let's do that again. Okay, it didn't do the jolt this time, but it's nice and gradual. It's not as rough and powerful as the throttle is. So if you want a more comfortable like pickup speed and smoother acceleration, then use the pedals. We'll do that one more time. I'll put it in mode 5 to give it the benefit of the doubt of how fast these react. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, all right, there we go. Gave us a little bit more power, but still, yeah, they're not as responsive as the throttle. So if you want the power right then and there and you want it all, use the throttle, baby, and you are gone. Now, I used the horn earlier in the video in my garage, but I'm actually curious to see how it sounds out here. And I got a full face helmet on and it's closed, so I'm gonna see how it sounds to me as well. Yeah, it sounds like a toy, if I'm being straight up honest. It just sounds like a little kid's toy or something that would be in a dog toy. It's like an annoying type of loud. I mean, it's okay, it's average. I'd say it's like 5 out of 10, nothing crazy. But I mean, you have a horn regardless. Some bikes don't even have a horn. All right, so as I sit at this light, like I was telling you, it's easier if you lean with one of your feet on one side and put your foot on the pedal. That's just something I do. So again, if you are a shorter person than 5'9", you're definitely gonna want to be doing what I'm doing right now. All right, let's beat all this traffic. We gone, we out of here. We're leaving the traffic in the dust, baby. I can't believe how fast this thing just takes off from lights, man. On a 48-volt system, I know there's 2 motors and everything like that, but it's performing absolutely excellent. Like, it's great. It's definitely great. Now, to use this on the road 24/7, no. You're really gonna be buying this to go like off-roading and exactly kind of what they say. Maybe you're hunting, maybe you're just like in the fields, and maybe you have a house out in the country or something like that, and you want to use this on your back roads or something where it's like dirt, mud, sand, whatever. This thing is perfect. But the tires are made to be on the street as well. They're not that knobby, so they're going to be very comfortable for the street as well and have a decent amount of grip too. So no complaints at all from me. So I think that should be everything we need to cover on this bike. I mean, I'm having an absolute blast. I can't wait until I do my second video on this thing when I take it out at night. We go back and forth to my work. I'll get the lights, we'll get the brake lights, we'll get the turn signals. We'll actually see how it looks just riding it on an average day at night. It's gonna be during the day at first going to work, and then when I get off, it's gonna be midnight. So subscribe and like this video so you don't miss the second video. It's gonna come out shortly after this one. But what I wanna do right now is I'm just gonna go back to the house, give you guys my final conclusion on how I feel about this bike and if it's worth it. And yeah, I'll see you guys at the house. Give me a sec. Oh, one last thing we should talk about that I didn't even mention is that there is a USB plug down here. So if you need to charge something, you could plug a USB connection down in here. So that'd be nice if you do figure out you want your phone over here, move the display over, put your phone right here so it doesn't block it. You can do that. So that's cool. I just noticed that because it's kind of hanging and dangling. So, put this back up.
All right, guys, so we are back in the garage. Final conclusion of this bike. I ended up with 71% on the battery. I think it was down to 69% when I was on the throttle getting to the house. And as it set for about 3 or 4 minutes before turning on the camera right here, it went up a little bit, 2%. On my phone, if I check it out, on here it says my trip was 18.9 miles, but I also did take this out for a spin in my last video, so I can't go off of that. I should have reset my trip on here to see how accurate it was. But my phone is saying we did 12 miles exactly flat, like 12.0. And then the speed on my phone is saying 31 miles per hour flat, 31.0, which is, that's funny. I need to literally screenshot this and I'll put it up on the screen now so you guys can see that. But yeah, fantastic bike. The display is great. I like that on one side of the display, it shows your power for one of the motors. The other side will show you the power for the other motor. That is super awesome. The headlights automatically coming on are nice. I love this little button thing because it's like a piano black, like see-through glass, but it's probably plastic, but it looks nice. The horn, not a big fan of the horn. The turn signals, it's cool, it has it, but they're not really noticeable. The brake light isn't as noticeable as some other e-bikes. The headlight looks great though. I can't wait to test it out in the second video. The front suspension, absolutely awesome. Once you dial it in on the compression that you need and put the right amount of air based on your weight, the suspension in the front is going to be feeling like great. I noticed that the back actually felt better than the front, and I think that's because there's too much air in here for how much I weigh. I'm 163 pounds. So this is actually doing a fantastic job with that suspension seat post. But if you are, again, if you're a smaller person and you really like this bike and you really, really want it, you're definitely going to want to change this out to a non-suspension seat post so you can go a little lower, because that's as low as you can go. and you can go very high if you want. I want to say that's the minimum right there. So I have it all the way at the very base of what I can put it at. And then hooking up an extra battery to this is cool. I don't know how that works, but they do have that plug back there. They also have bolt holes right here everywhere on the bike, especially on the sides, so you guys can put extra stuff on there if you want to hang stuff off. It's basically made to like get stuff and haul stuff around. That's why you have the front rack and the rear rack, and it's a badass bike. I really like that the rims are 4 inches wide compared to most bikes. Like my Ride One Up, that's 3.25 inches wide, so 3¼ inches wide, where this is 4 inches wide, and it looks badass. But it doesn't make the tire look fat. It doesn't make it look ballooned out. It almost kind of stretches it in a little bit, but I like that. I've never seen anything like that, so it's nice. The color of the bike, it's real nice. It looks like a wrap on a car. Just looks phenomenal. The torque sensor worked great, but the throttle and the power of this bike, absolutely, it's insane. It's outstanding. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of this bike, and its biggest downside, I think, is that there's no dedicated button to switch modes. I would like to be able to go in the front motor, rear motor, or both motors whenever I feel like it right on the fly, instead of having to go into the advanced settings and finding that option. And it looks like the bike turned off, so I think after about 5 minutes is when this bike turns off. So that's a nice feature. Also, the headlight coming on automatically, because I never even turned it on. It just came on in the garage when I parked it in here. But without further ado, guys, links and everything down in the description. I think it's a fantastic bike if you're looking for a big bike anyway. If you're not looking for a big bike, look elsewhere. But if you are looking for a very big, huge bike that sits really high and basically lets traffic know you are there, you know, you're not a small bike on the road and you mean business and you like to sit very high with traffic and everything like that, or you're a very tall person, if you are 6 foot or more, this is a perfect bike. Even if you're like 6'9", this is going to be a good bike because the seat post will go a lot higher. You are definitely going to love this bike if you're a tall person. So I love you guys, true MVPs. Check the links down in the description. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Maybe I missed something or something you want me to talk about in the next video before I do it. And yeah, I love you guys, true MVPs. Peace out, baby.